Hello everyone. In today's video, I will discuss about Dahrendorf's idea of social conflict. As I have discussed Dahrendorf's the theory of conflict or social conflict in the previous video, so today's video is the continuation of his idea of the social conflict. So in the last video I just mentioned about his idea of the social conflict based on the authority. So this I will continue. So please be connected and you will understand. Let's begin. Dahrendorf used or applied the Weberian idea of authority in his analysis of social conflict. And basically Dahrendorf here discussed about the social conflict, and the class conflict can be the one form of social conflict. He has not confined his the discussion of conflict in just the industrial enterprise or in the capitalist system. Rather, he included each and every forms of conflict that exist in the society, and that is why he used the term the social conflict. And according to him, the social conflict actually exists in different organizations of the society, and he termed these organizations as imperatively coordinated groups. That society actually consists of numbers of imperatively coordinated groups, and within these imperatively coordinated groups, two categories of the persons or two categories of positions exist. One is supraordinated, another one is subordinated. Supraordinated has the authority, and subordinated category is the subject to the authority of the supraordinated. So before going to discuss about the differences of the interest or conflict in the imperatively coordinated groups, we shall focus on certain elements of the Weberian model of authority. So what is authority, or what is the Weberian model of authority? Authority means the legitimate the relationship between supraordinated and subordinated. So first important thing is the relationship between supraordinated and subordinated, and it has to be legitimate. Second important thing of the authority is that the supraordinated has the authority, has the legal power to command, to instruct or prescribe to those who are subordinated. And subordinated category or positions have to follow, have to obey the supraordinated. Another important element of the authority is that only specific positions, specific person is allowed to use the legitimate power, that is authority. And the supraordinated category is legitimized category, who can use the power only, who can instruct or prescribe or impose certain things over the subordinated. They have the power. These persons have the power, others have to follow it. And this relationship, the supraordinated and subordinated relationship, is not personal. It is rather based on certain the content and expectations. The content here means the role associated with the positions, and the role and positions have certain goals of the overall organization. So it has a specific content within this. The supraordinated category or positions have to impose, have to execute, have to instruct the subordinated, and the certain expectations also attached with it, that is subordinate category or other peoples can have the expectations what these positions can do, what these positions can execute. So these are the certain elements of the authority. that is Weberian model of authority, and that used by Dahrendorf in his analysis of the social conflict. Another important element of the authority that I forgot to discuss is the sanction attached with the relationship between supraordinated and subordinated. That is, if subordinated is not obeying the authority, is not fulfilling the expectation of the authority, then the sanction can be imposed. The sanction may be in the form of like punishment. So different type of punishment depends on the organization. If it is a formal organization, so there may be the demotion, there may be the dismissal from the job. So this kind of sanction attached to it, and even the sanction even attached to the supraordinated category or positions also. If they are not able to fulfill the expected duties, expected roles of the position, then they can also be faced the sanction. So these are the important elements of the authority that I needed to discuss. Now come to the point that how the conflict may arises in this imperatively coordinated groups. And according to Dahrendorf, each and every means the society is actually full of, there are numbers of imperatively coordinated groups, and each and every imperatively coordinated groups have these two categories of the positions of the persons, supraordinated and subordinate, that is the superior and the subordinate section. Now I will discuss how the conflict may occur in the imperatively coordinated group or groups. So Dahrendorf here mentioned about the existence of the quasi groups or interest groups within a particular imperatively coordinated group or organization. Imperatively coordinated group also means the organization. So the existence of quasi group or interest group is very, very important. Means there is the Dahrendorf mentions that the quasi group or interest group exist in within a particular organization or within a particular imperatively coordinated group. Now what this quasi group or interest group do? Actually basically these quasi groups and interest group is associated with two processes. One is the positive dominance role, another one is the negative dominance role. There are certain positions or certain members of this organization or ICG, that is imperatively coordinated group, may have the positive dominance role, and certain positions or certain members may have the negative dominance role. That is one group wants to maintain the status quo, that is maintain the order of the organization. Another category position or persons may wants to change the status quo or the order of the organization. So in this sense we can say the positive dominance role, that is one is playing the dominance, one is playing the positive role in maintaining the dominance, in maintaining the existence of order. And the another category who is playing the negative role, in term of the dominance, in term of the maintenance of the dominance. That is this group may resist the order, wants to change the order. So basically here the two category of quasi group or interest groups develops because of the difference of the positions, different of the members in an organization or ICG. What are these two quasi groups? One quasi groups who is interested in preserving the status quo, who is interested in maintaining the order in the organization, who is considered as the positive dominance role, who is associated with the dominance, positive dominance role. Another category of quasi group, that is who is interested in the changing or altering the status quo, or change the status quo, that is change the order of the organization or bring transformation. So this quasi group is means associated or considered as the means the negative diplomacy, negative dominance role. So now matter is that if the conflict arises or occurs between these two quasi group, so there may be either the maintenance of the status quo, maintenance of the order in the organization, or change. That is, if the positive dominance role succeeds in maintaining the status quo, so it will maintain the order, and if the negative dominance role succeeds in bringing change or altering the order, so there will be a change in the organization, change in the IC, imperatively coordinated group. So either the order, status quo, or change, these may be the result. So quasi group plays a very important role. Now these quasi groups may also become the interest group. Quasi group actually has the latent the interest. Their interest is latent, it is not manifested. Quasi groups do not means the express or manifest their interest. It is not visualized, it is not in the form of protest or strike or any kind, it is latent, it is not shown. So this interest ultimately instigate one to change the order, another to preserve the order. So these quasi groups may become the interest group. Interest groups are actually very formal, who has the manifested interest, who expresses their interest in the front, and is visible mainly. Their interest or their struggle or fight is visible. Now point is that how organization forms. There are certain conditions behind the formation of the organization in the society. This organization do not just forms automatically or suddenly, it has certain conditions. So three conditions mentioned by Dahrendorf: social, political, and the technical. There is social condition, that is these conditions are important to exist a particular organization. There is social condition, that is they must have the communication, interaction regarding their their interest, regarding their consciousness, regarding the concern. Political interest, there is political conditions, they may have certain the strategy, aim, technique to express their interest. And the technical condition, that is they must have or they shall have the ideology or certain the principles or techniques in the formation of the organization. So these organizations can exist with these conditions. Now Dahrendorf also mentioned that just mere existence of organization is not sufficient to describe the situation of social conflict. There are certain conditions of social conflict also. So what are the conditions? He mentioned about two conditions of social conflict. One is the degree of social mobility, another one is the existence of the social control mechanism. There is mechanism to control the conflict. These two conditions determines the situation of social conflict in any organization. The degree of social mobility is one condition. This is how far individual members or members of a particular organization tends to move from one position to another positions, one status to another status. So the mobility decides the conflict. Mobility decides the intensity of the conflict. Sometimes this mobility may change the course of the, may change the intensity of the conflict. Another one is the mechanism which controls, which prevents the conflict. If the mechanism is very strong, so it may dissolve the conflict. But most important thing, Dahrendorf is saying that this conflict, basically he here referred the industrial enterprise. That is, according to him, in industrial enterprise, the conflict is very natural. You cannot completely abolish the conflict. If the mechanism is strong, it may dissolve the conflict for a moment, for a time being, but again there will be conflict of interest. It may be latent and can also become the manifested through interest groups. But there exists the chance of conflict through the quasi groups, and these quasi groups become laterly the interest groups. So in this way we can say that the conflict always exists in any particular organization, in the particular coordinated group, that according to Dahrendorf's social conflict theory says. So basically he discussed the idea of the social conflict in terms of authority, organization, quasi group and interest group. So in the next video I will try to make more elaborate discussion on this topic. Thank you for watching. Please like the video, put your comment and share it. Thank you.